Now let's look back at the week that was here in Nigeria with its draw the line moments and with new political events opening and closing. A week in which 3 presidential jets belonging to Nigeria were seized in France on the orders of a court for alleged breaches of contract, leaving this country wallowing in yet another international mess. A week in which the Council of State unanimously endorsed the leadership of President Tinubu, expressing satisfaction with his governance of Nigeria, whilst controversially describing the recent End Bad Governance protests as nothing short of insurrection. A week in which, amid renewed cries of systemic inequality, unfair representation, inequitable distribution of resources, and allegations of marginalization, leading Nigerians and champions for change called for the strengthening of Nigeria's national identity through the uniting vision of a new, more representative constitution, a move which they say will inject huge shots of much-needed development adrenaline into this country, but which opponents say won't make any difference and will amount to nothing more than a distraction. Well, for their assessments, I'm joined now in the studio by the Global Security and Governance Analyst, Paul Ejime, and by the development expert and business and economic analyst, Dr. Taofiq Raimi. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Charles.
You probably heard the tail end of the High Commissioner for Botswana there, giving her take on how they've come as far as they have. Botswana has only got 2.6 million people. And when you compare that to Nigeria, which has some 240 million people, they're 120 times, this country is 100% more populous than they are. And yet, they managed the gold and silver medal at the Olympics, and Nigeria failed to get even a bronze. I mean, what are we missing here? What's Nigeria failing to do, briefly?
So, it's a combination of factors, Charles. One has to do with leadership. You can't take that away. Then structure, that is in place for, be it sports or whatever you are doing. You have to have it structured and well coordinated. We, in Nigeria, we haven't gotten that. There are a lot of things getting on the way. Ethnicity, tribalism, religion. You notice that some players, I'm using football as an instance now, where you have players, they are supposed to be invited to the national team, and they have to pay something to somebody bringing them. And here you have some of those representing Nigeria, most of them are outside the country. So that what is the level of preparation? What do you have in place? Why are they going out? You notice that some Nigerians, with people of Nigerian nationality, winning medals for other countries.
Being very successful.
Exactly. It tells you that there is something that we're not getting right.
Well, let me come to you because I don't want to dwell too much on this. We've got other things to talk about. Dr. Raimi, good to see you again, by the way. When you look at a country like Burundi, I mean, you were here from the outset. He got here a little bit later, but you were here from when the High Commissioner started speaking. When you look at a country like Burundi, what do you think makes it such a sterling success when compared to Nigeria?
Well, thank you, Charles. I think you actually meant Botswana.
Botswana, sorry. I said Burundi. Yeah, Botswana.
When you look at the population of Nigeria compared to Botswana, Botswana has 2,675,000 as its population. Nigeria has 223 million people. This is about 80 of Botswana is in Nigeria, as it were. The population of Nigeria, it gives us the enough human capital that there is no sector of our endeavor that should suffer at all.
Right. So unfortunately, there's no excuse, basically,
we do not have skills. We have the resources, human and material resources, and even intellect, knowledge. But what is missing basically is leadership leadership at the Ministry of Sport itself, leadership across the federations that guides each of the event that we went for. Secondly, I also believe
very briefly, because I don't want to dwell on this.
I also believe that our reward system is also asked to be looked into. There is also no punishment for non-performance. Like, for instance, we have spent about 12 billion for this particular Olympic that we couldn't win.
That's 12 billion naira.
12 billion naira.
Okay.
Well,
let's move on from there. I understand that.
To be accountable.
Right. Let's turn to the seizure of 3 Nigerian presidential jets in France by order of a court for alleged breaches of contract. I understand that one of them has been released as a gesture of goodwill. What are your thoughts on that?
So the mere fact that is true, because I didn't believe it when I read it. I said, well, social media. But that it happened, it tells you the low that Nigeria has descended. Because there couldn't have been any international embarrassment that is as this. The presidential jet, and they are saying is that one that has created so much problem, about $100 million being, when Nigerians are protesting at home and talking about hunger and bad governance and then hardship. And then you have it, this is even not a government. It's a company that has sued, and because a state has taken, and when they warn them about taking these loans, it's as if you are against government. But look at the repercussion. So it is an embarrassment that you can't wash it away. Whether they release the 2, whether the seizure was for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, the damage is humongous.
Right.
And I think we shouldn't go that. I think the government should begin now to apologize to Nigerians. Say, listen, we missed it. Because how do we, I hope the next one will not be that our president will be somewhere and they seize his plane and is not able to return to Nigeria. So when are we going to get it right? Charles, we are all Nigerians. It's beggars.
Well, that's a good question, but that's a rhetorical question, which I can't answer. But let me come to you. I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier, but we're trying to get these things moving fast because we're going to run out of time, and I want to get to as many things as possible. So try and be pithy in your answers. Keep it as sort of reasonably short as possible. Some lawyers have suggested that the seizure is unlawful because an official aircraft of a sovereign nation is not a commercial asset and therefore should not be seized. They say a presidential jet has or ought to have diplomatic immunity because it is an instrument of diplomacy of the government of a sovereign nation such as Nigeria. And I mean, I know you're an economist. I don't know how much of a legal eagle you are, but whether you understand international law, because even if it is international law, the question is whether in this instance that would supersede domestic French law.
Okay, basically, I think the argument is about what has been seized. If it were other properties that doesn't have sovereignty immunity, maybe we could be talking about that. But this particular jet that has seized is believing within the international extant
but it belongs to the Nigerian.
It belongs to. Yeah, that's why I'm saying that it's believed that what has been done by the court abroad is not proper to have been done. But I want to look at it from different perspective, being in the industry itself, that this has to do with wrong contract implementation or contract packaging at the beginning. Because if you have the right contract documentation, it should spell out what are the right responsibilities, if there are breaches, how would dispute be resolved within Nigeria before this particular company as a launch has taken even this matter across different, almost 8 countries in the world. So I believe that every big thing starts small. Our government, especially of Ogun State, that entered into this agreement on the free trade zone arrangement, possibly should have done maybe a pretty better job at the beginning so that this does not fester to the extent that it has now gone abroad and we have been embarrassed. Nobody agrees to this embarrassment, but I believe that our president and his team are going to ensure that using legal instrument, using diplomacy, and using all that is required we are going to come out of this. And what I could only add is that there are other companies abroad that are in Nigeria as we speak. Our government at various levels, not only the federal government, even across state, should begin to look at the packaging of contracts and making sure that there is enough professionalism in contract initiation, contract packaging, contract execution.
Obviously, that doesn't inspire people to want to come and invest in Nigeria if you're having contracts and you're not keeping to contracts.
Yeah, but for now, we have not concluded. There is need for proper investigation because it hasn't been established that the Ogun State
ostensibly
or FD
being
did
done.
not comply. We need to still investigate that further.
Indeed. Let's turn to the demand for restructuring and a new constitution for Nigeria, one of your favorite topics. Why is there so much concern over a new people's constitution in Nigeria?
Okay, just one word before I go.
Sure, certainly.
On this issue about this, I think there has to be punishment for bad behavior. What has happened now, and that is the reason it keeps occurring, impunity, because there is no consequence. If Nigeria can do, government will do well to make sure that those who entered into this contract or who were executing, or even Nigerian missions abroad that did not forewarn the government that this was coming, let us please, cover our backs. Let me stop there.
Sure.
And then go to, you were saying how, why it's causing so much problem.
Yeah.
It's not a new request or new demand that the patriots has. Some people have even said, why are they arrogating to themselves the title of patriots? These are not elected. I'm not their spokesperson, so you get that. But I'm saying that what they are asking is not new on the table. Remember that this present government, before they came on in 2015, had promised Nigeria. It came in so many ways. They talk about restructuring, fiscal federation, federalism, and all that. That was why the APC set up the El-Rufai Committee.
Indeed.
El-Rufai Committee sat for 2 years, submitted a report, I think, in 2019 to the leadership of APC. Nobody knows what has happened to that. So people saying now that it is constitution or whatever is a new thing, it's not true. But because some people have said they don't even understand what is meant by restructuring, they are now saying, or do we now go for this piecemeal constitutional amendments that the National Assembly is doing with humongous amounts every year, billions of naira they are spending? Why don't you come and do a holistic overhaul?
Once and for all.
Once and for all.
Yeah.
Well, this is my take. It might not be something you can start on now, but at least put it on the table and go back to what the 2014 National Conference did. Constitution is a living document. It is, dynamic. That is why there is need for amendments. So here, if we now say that some people had question with why were they discovering it as illegitimate. I listened to your program, was it yesterday or 2 days, where your guest was saying they shouldn't describe it as illegitimate or that is illegitimate. The point is that it is not working. And continuing as it is will not take us anywhere. Right. Okay. And the point, those who are saying that the Constitution does not make a good governance, yes, but at least let it be written out and let's now try face those who are going to implement.
Yeah, that's a good point. Dr. Raimi, some have argued that it is not fair to impose such a demand on President Tinubu, your best friend, by the way, to impose such a demand on President Tinubu, who did not make it a central part of his manifesto in 2023. They're saying that with a new presidential election set for 2027, one of the parties should make it their central manifesto promise and be held to it if they win in 2027. In other words, let the agitation for restructuring and a more representative constitution shape the campaign for the 2027 election. What's your take on that?
Okay, my take on this is basically that the president himself is a leader that is focused. And he has what he had planned from ab initio, because to fail to plan is to plan to fail. when he was, campaigning and looking for this mandate, he had 8-point agenda, which has to do with poverty eradication, food security, economic growth, enabling environment, inclusivity, rule of law, fighting corruption. He has, job creation, youth, and all these are his cardinal focus. At this point, I think we should allow the president to focus on what he has promised us. There are challenges that in various parts of our country. For instance, from where I am from, the Southwest, we have a proverb, and I believe it exists in every aspect because we are very rich cultural people in Nigeria. There is the adage that says, "Tigiba relugi toke lakokomu." It translates that if trees fall on each other, you start the problem solving by removing the one on top. Now we are talking of hunger on the land. We are talking of insecurity that is not enabling our people to go and farm. We are talking of a number of very obvious, tangible problems that the president is concerned with. So I think at this point in time, it was not part of our president's basic ideology to say new constitution will be established within 4 years. But the agitation by the patriots is not. Is okay.
It's not misplaced.
It's not misplaced.
It's just the timing of it.
The timing.
Is that the point
and again, I've also
okay.
asked them and every other person supporting this, what is it that are not working? When people say 1999 constitution is not working, it's too large. What is it that is not working? Can these people, including the party,
the point they're making is that
what is not working?
Right.
Because it's like a building. Sorry, Charles. It's like having a building you see crack. You
well,
need to investigate what kind of crack do you have.
That. The point
so
is
this
that
is the point.
it's a constitution that was imposed on the Nigerian people. A constitution is supposed to represent the yearnings, the aspirations, the ambitions, and the vision that people have for themselves. Okay, so it's supposed to be their document.
No, well, I agree in part. I also want to
it
quickly add that when people say this constitution is imposed by who?
By the military.
It was by Nigerians. Nigerians were also,
Okay, well, let's not dwell on that because I've got to move on. Okay. And I've got literally 3 minutes left. Let's turn to that vote of confidence passed on President Tinubu by the Council of State. How deserving of this do you think Mr. Tinubu and his government are?
Well, we'll leave that to those who made the judgment. I think they have...
but we're asking you for your judgment. You're an analyst.
What I'm looking at is... that they say the taste of the pudding, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So
have you eaten the pudding?
No, I am trying
because we know he's eating the pudding.
I will tell you.
But I don't know about you.
Why I have said that, why I'm saying that, Charles, you can read between the lines, is that the meeting came just after 10 days of national protest.
Yeah.
And then I don't think what were they with the people outside is the president administering to the Council of State or to the 200 and something million Nigerians. So for those outside outside that room, maybe they're having a different conversation that the president should listen to.
Right.
That would be my response to that.
Well, I mean,
he also talked about what are the things that are not working. The Constitution puts so much power in the center, on the president.
Yeah.
And the president becomes too powerful. In fact, we have...
and development is not reaching the rest of the country.
That is what is not working.
Let's move on very quickly.
You were there in the regions how things were working.
We have to give Dr. Raimi a chance to make his final presentation. President Obasanjo did not attend that Council of State meeting. Do you think he boycotted that meeting, as some suggest?
Okay, Charles.
He just couldn't stand the idea of coming there to endorse the president.
Let me...
very quickly. We've literally got 45 seconds.
I happen to have performed the role of Deputy Director, Community Relations for APC presidential campaign for 2023 election. And I took this matter back to my people. I cover a whole senatorial district in Oyo State, Oyo Central.
Sure.
I do not have appointment at this point. Of course, talking about eating. No, I am just sincere. It's not about eating, it's about service for me anyway.
Yes,
even if I'm appointed today, you know me, I've had a professional development for more than 30 years. I am in politics.
Because we've got to get moving.
The president of Obasanjo, the father of the nation as well, he spoke well. He did not boycott. I do not believe. I can't speak for our former president. Right. But I know that he's passionate about development of this country. Perhaps we can know why he couldn't attain. But I know that because he's a nationalist, he wouldn't say he's boycotting what will help the country.
Well, on
he
that
may
note,
possibly be busy, and he may have sent his apology for being absent. Right. If that is allowed,
well, we don't know that.
We don't know that.
And that's a good point, and a good point on which to end. I want to thank you guys very much indeed. Paul Ejime is, of course, a global security and governance analyst, and Dr. Taofiq Raimi is a development expert and business and economic analyst. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry it was a bit shorter than I would have wanted it to be, but it was great to get your contributions. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again next week from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.